Hey, what's ready? Welcome back to News Dose, and today was actually kind of a crazy day for the gaming world. Apparently everybody is back in the office now or something because we got a lot, and I mean a lot of information today. In one part for Xbox, I mean they just unloaded, and yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a fun month if you like Xbox games. Now, PlayStation also got some news, though I'm not really sure why people are taking it the way that they are. We'll talk about that as well, so stick around. But first, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go get right into things, though, starting off with Detroit Become Human. And yes, we are in the year of 2026. I know this is an old game from last generation, but apparently it's now up to 15 million units sold. And even more interesting is that 4 million of that number actually came from last year alone, which is incredible for a game that's going to be 8 years old here in just a few months. Now, to be completely fair, Steam's amazing discounts played a major role into this. You know, I believe it was just $4 last month, which really, that is a steal for a game like this. Personally, it's among my top 25 PS4 games, and it's really one of my favorite choose-your-own-adventure style of games for that matter. I mean, visually, it's a stunning experience even to this day, but I also really enjoyed the characters and the story. I know some people criticized it for taking itself too serious, but, you know, personally, I enjoyed it, and I'm happy to see that it's been a big-time success. The only thing about this news, though, that's somewhat upsetting is that it kind of made me realize that, you know, we haven't gotten a new Quantic Dream game since 2018. Yeah, modern AAA development has gotten a little absurd by this point, but hopefully Star Wars Eclipse will come sooner rather than later. Oh, and Avowed got its official reveal for the PlayStation 5. It will be available on February 17th, and it'll also come with the new anniversary update, and I mean, I think by this point, this was kind of expected. You know, Xbox is a multi-platform company now, and a lot of their games are going to go multi-platform at some point. You know, their goal was to be the biggest publisher in the world, all while having their own console. But I will say this. I personally like how they handled Avowed specifically, because in my opinion, I think it is the best roadmap for their future games. And what I mean by that is that maybe give Xbox consoles some kind of timed exclusivity. In this case, it was a year, which South of Midnight also followed a similar template. So maybe that's what they're going to do for some of their games. You know, maybe they'll be exclusive to Xbox for 6 months, a year or two, and then come over to PlayStation at some point. And I think that that could work out for them and for their fans. It would give fans more reason to buy into their hardware and also to subscribe to something like Game Pass. Let me know what you think about this, though. Do you agree with that, or do you think that it even really matters? Now, we also got some much-needed news for Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. As I said the other day, if anything else, the new playable demo will give us a good idea as to how its performance will be, specifically on Nintendo consoles. I'm sure Dragon Quest is going to be very popular on the Switch 1 and especially the Switch 2 over in Japan. But exactly how is its performance, though? And well, apparently it runs fairly good on both devices. The YouTube channel Switch Up claimed that on the Switch 1, if you're playing on an OLED, it looks better, although it does run at 30 frames per second with a few visual downgrades. There are also some stutters below 30 frames in certain scenes, and you'll notice that in the frame pacing. On the Switch 2, everything is silky smooth, 60 frames per second, perhaps the very occasional stutter. It looks great. So, there you go. The Switch 2 very well might be the go-to platform for a lot of people when it comes to Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. I mean, I think the only thing about this, though, is that it is somewhat frustrating that a great game like this, you know, won't have a true physical release. It is going to launch on the dreaded key card, so I mean, I might pick it up on the PlayStation 5 instead, but I have to say, I would kind of prefer a Switch 2 version. I do prefer my JRPGs on a handheld, but if anything else, at least the PlayStation 5 has the PlayStation Portal, so I kind of got a decision to make here in the next month or so. All right, now let's just go and get into the big news, though, and I want to piggyback off of yesterday's video. Now, if you missed that video, Xbox was hit by a massive leak. I mean, a lot of their future pipeline leaked out online. Make sure to go watch that video. But as I have said time and time again, I believe 2026 will be Xbox's biggest year in terms of software, possibly for them ever. Now, we still need to see the quality behind all of their games this year. That is important before we go out and say that it's going to be their best year. But again, on paper, it's going to be a massive year for Xbox. And we will get our first true glimpse of that later this month on January 22nd at 10 a.m. Pacific time. They just announced that their Xbox Direct will air on that date, and they're teasing 3 specific games being Fable, Forza Horizon 6, and then the big surprise, Game Freak's new IP, Beast of Reincarnation. Now, we are hearing about a 4th secret game as well, so I'm going to come back to that here in just a moment. But first, I think the big highlight for this showcase is definitely Fable. I mean, this game has been in development for a very, very long time, and it is one of the most beloved Xbox franchises that's being handled by a completely different studio for the first time. So there's a lot of curiosity about how Playground Games will handle Fable, and I mean, I'm happy to say that we are going to get a deep look into exactly what they have in store for us, hopefully later this year, because check this out. Playground Games put this statement out, which reads, "We've been working on Fable for a really, really long time. It's time to show you more, much more. Tune in to Developer Direct at 10 a.m. Pacific time on the 22nd of January for our first deep dive into the game." So, there you go. We're finally going to get that deep dive into Fable to truly see its gameplay, its humor, its world, its characters, because, I mean, all of that is incredibly important for a game like Fable. I mean, the humor alone has been a major talking point in whether or not they can pull off that whimsical charm that the original 3 had. And that's the thing about this game, because Playground Games, you know, they are an amazing studio, and we've seen that from the Forza Horizon series. But at the same time, racing games are a lot different than open-world RPGs. So we're going to learn a lot about Playground at this upcoming Direct, and I cannot wait myself. Speaking of Forza Horizon, though, it seems like we are going to get our first gameplay look at Forza Horizon 6, and I would not be surprised if this ends up being their biggest game of the year in terms of player count. I mean, Forza Horizon has been a massive series for Xbox for a long time, and I think the 6th entry has the potential to be their most exciting Forza Horizon experience yet, specifically because of its Japanese setting. Now, Forza Horizon 5, I think that was a great game, but I didn't think that its environment was necessarily amazing, whereas I think a Japanese setting can completely change that. Not only with the more urban environments, but also with the city locations and the neon lights. I think this could be their best Forza Horizon game yet if they can execute it properly, so I'm extremely excited to see some of its gameplay and also a release date as well. I mean, there are rumors that it's going to be available sooner than what some people expect, and that's one of the big things about these Xbox Directs. It's Xbox's way to lay out some of their pipeline for the rest of the year. Now, Beast of Reincarnation, though, this is a bit of a surprise inclusion. This is a third-party game developed by Game Freak, and if you don't know who they are and why that's just so interesting, it's because Game Freak is the studio behind the mainline Pokemon games. Yeah, so this is a brand new IP from the Pokemon game creators, and it looks like their most ambitious game ever. I mean, I know they've taken a ton of heat online for their lack of polish on some of the more recent Pokemon games, but you also have to understand that the Pokemon Company has put them on a very strict schedule and a very small budget. So we're going to see what they can do with a more AAA experience. Maybe they can redeem themselves a little bit here, but I will say that the last trailer that they revealed clearly had some performance issues. So what I want to see at the Xbox Direct is a more polished version than what they revealed last time. Now, as for the secret game, this was teased by Shinobi over on Resetera, and it's since been talked about by Jez Corden. He seems to believe that it will be from one of their more quote-unquote intrepid teams. So when I think about an adventurous style of team from Xbox, the first one that comes to mind is Double Fine. And you might think, well, you know, they just released a game a few months ago, but they reportedly have been working on multiple different games, and they also release smaller style of games. So technically, they could reveal their next game at the Xbox Developer Direct. Now, if they do, though, I wouldn't necessarily get my hopes up for something like Psychonauts 3. Trust me, that's what I want from them as well. But it's important to kind of keep your expectations tempered. The only other studio that comes to mind is maybe Toys for Bob. I mean, technically they're not an Xbox studio per se, but they are working on an Xbox game, and there's been a lot of rumors that they're going to release Spyro 4 in 2026. So again, keep your expectations tempered, but at the very least, it is a possibility. Either which way, though, this sounds like an incredibly fun showcase, and that's the thing, because this is just the beginning of what is going to be a very, very fun anniversary year for Xbox and for their fans. All right, now one more thing before we go, though, because Jason Schreier revealed some very interesting information for the long-awaited Grand Theft Auto 6. Now, of course, they recently delayed it into the latter half of the year, but what if I told you that they could still miss 2026 entirely? Well, apparently, Jason Schreier said that it's still not content complete. So, what that tells us is that Rockstar didn't simply delay GTA 6 because they need to polish it more. They also have more content that they need to finish, and that's not exactly a great sign if you want a guaranteed release date for this year. Now, to be completely fair, it also doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get delayed. We need to see how this situation plays out. But if you want my opinion, I don't think that you should get your hopes up for 2026. I would look more towards the first half of 2027, but hey, that's just my opinion. If it comes out this year, that's great. But if it doesn't, I won't be too surprised, is all I'm trying to say. Now, the other thing that he said about GTA 6, though, and I think this is kind of a ridiculous take, if I'm being honest, but a lot of people are running with this quote, and that's because he said PlayStation is the main platform for the game. It's kind of like a PlayStation exclusive, and I suspect that Sony is planning its entire calendar around GTA. They will not release anything within that blast zone. Now, the thing is that I feel like some of the statement is accurate. You know, Sony might have a marketing contract for GTA 6, and I think they're going to push the PS5 Pro pretty heavily in its marketing. But where I think he went a step too far is pretty much with the rest of his statement. I mean, for one, most of the industry is probably planning their schedule around GTA 6 because they're kind of afraid that it's going to overshadow their games. The other thing, though, is him saying that it's kind of like a PlayStation exclusive because, I mean, that's just flat out not true at all. I mean, it's either an exclusive or it's not, and in this case, it's not. You know, I'm sure it's going to sell millions upon millions of copies on Xbox as well. So, I don't know. Just a weird thing for him to say, but there's definitely people out there running with this comment, so I thought I'd at least mention it. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.